bitter criticism. Let's be happy, I guess. No, let's reach Russia today. Let's be aware, militarily aware. Would you?
Distribuirse al interior del tren usando todos los carros es una medida de autocuidado. Colabora con la interacción segura.
June the 3rd. June 3rd. Ukrainian Air Force admits modern Russian jets. Trump. Trump? I don't get it. What they mean about Trump? Bitter criticism, self-criticism. Ukrainian Air Force admits modern Russian jets. Trump F-16s. They defeated some F-16s. Moscow's new fighter planes. Moscow's newer fighter planes outraged their U.S.-made counterparts in both radar and strike capability, Colonel Yuri Ignat has said. So the Russians are making some propaganda, some military propaganda, I guess. There's a photo of two F-16s fighting Falcons at an air demonstrations Ukraine, August 4. Ukraine's Western-supplied F-16 fighter jets are outmatched by Russia's newer aircraft and missile systems. The head of the communications department of the Ukrainian Air Force, Yuri Ignat, has said Washington gave its NATO allies the green light to send their surplus US-made jets to Ukraine in 2023. Quote, "We are getting Western equipment, we are getting aircraft. Today we have F-16s, we already have Mirages, end quote," he said in an interview with the outlet Ukrainian Pravda published on Tuesday. Quote, "They have already been in use. We understand that they are not the newest." Ignat stressed the importance of the detection range of the jet's radar and the strike range of its weapons. Quote, "Unfortunately, Russia has planes today that see further and missiles that shoot further, even compared now with the F-16, he said. Ukraine's older Soyuz-era jets, such as the MiG-29 and Su-27, are, quote, "no comparison at all," he added. Quote, "It's like pitting a Makarov pistol against a sniper rifle." I have no idea about Makarov pistols, MiG-29. Unfortunately, I don't have idea about military devices. The current modifications of the F-16s that Ukraine has cannot compete one-on-one in an air battle, end quote, with the newer Russian Su-35 multi-role fighter, Ignat said in March. The total number of F-16s given to Kiev has not been released, but it is believed that Ukraine was given 18 last year. 3 of the jets have been destroyed, Ignat has confirmed. Last month, Ignat admitted that US-designed Patriot air defense systems have also been struggling against Russian weapons. Russian Iskander cruise missiles, quote-unquote, perform evasive maneuvers and drop decoy flares in their final approach phase, quote, thwarting the Patriot's trajectory calculations, end quote, he told Le Monde. Russia has repeatedly condemned the supplies of Western arrangements to Kiev, stressing that they will not change the course of the conflict, and slammed F-16 deliveries as an escalation. Such a beautiful sea, isn't it? Such a beautiful, beautiful spot. Russian President Vladimir Putin has warned that if jets taking part in the conflict take off from air bases outside Ukraine, Moscow will consider those bases to be hostile. Of course. Well, little things are nothing happens because, well, there is a conflict going on. I heard that it was an offensive yesterday. Look, I guess. But I don't know when this offensive was. Let's read this. June 3rd, 2025. Home, Russia and former Soviet Union. Kiev has run out of arguments at the frontline, analysts. Ukraine has intensified sabotage attacks inside Russia as a last resort, Sergei Poletaev has told Russia Today. And there's a photograph of a train derailed due to a collapse of a bridge in Russia's Bryansk region. A rapid spike in Russian attacks deep within Russia is a sign that Kiev is running out of options on the front line and is trying to remain relevant to its backers, information analysts and publicist Sergei Poletaev has told Russia Today. Poletaev, co-founder and editor of the VATFOR project, referred to a recent series of drone strikes targeting airfields in 5 Russian regions, including in Siberia and Russia's Far East. Ukrainian media has touted the strikes, dubbed quote-unquote Operation Spiderweb, as quote-unquote historic, and claimed it dealt serious damage to Russia's quote-unquote strategic aviation. The Russian Defense Ministry confirmed the attacks but stated that 3 out of 5 strikes were successfully repelled, causing no damage or casualties. The remaining 2 resulted in aircraft catching fire, which was quickly extinguished, according to the ministry, which also did not confirm the loss of any aircraft. Additionally, 2 bridges in Russian regions bordering Ukraine were blown up over the weekend. The damage caused by one blast derailed a passenger train, killed 7 people and injured 71 others. The Russian investigative committee reported on Tuesday that both cases were quote-unquote terrorist attacks planned by Ukraine to maximize civilian casualties. The attacks were launched shortly before the second round of peace talks between Russia and Ukraine in Istanbul on Monday. Kiev, quote-unquote, has brought its last arguments into play, Poletaev said, commenting on what he called, quote-unquote, unprecedented sabotage activities of Ukraine, end quote. They have run out of arguments at the front line and are attempting to change the situation this way, the analyst stated. According to Poletaev, the Russian-Ukrainian quote negotiation track will proceed sluggishly amid ongoing hostilities, end quote. The demands presented by both sides as the talks are only as realistic as their ability to enforce them through military means, he opined. Quote, each side, it seems at the moment, is confident that it can enforce its demands in one way or another. Or speaking of the Ukrainian side, perhaps they are pretending, which in general is emblematic of them, he said. Interesting, funny. According to Poletaev, Ukraine, its EU backers are desperately trying to prevent the US from disengaging as President Donald Trump, quote, appears determined to reduce American involvement in the conflict. Quote, both Ukraine and the EU are virtually pulling Trump by his sleeve to not let him withdraw from the war. End quote. He stated, adding only major changes on the front line could affect the dynamics of the conflict, and the roles of the US and the EU remaining unclear in its outcome. And the last one. I have no idea what's going on, but there's a response by Russian retaliation inevitable. Medvedev said it will retaliate. The former president has vowed retribution to recent Ukrainian attacks. Yeah, Russia will, quote-unquote, inevitably respond to recent Ukrainian attacks on its territory despite continuing diplomatic efforts to reach a peaceful settlement of the conflict, former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev stated on Tuesday. His comments follow suspected acts of Ukrainian sabotage on railways in Russia and drone strikes on multiple Russian airfields at the weekend. Despite this, Russian officials traveled to Istanbul on Monday for another round of direct negotiations with Ukrainian representatives. In a social media post, Medvedev addressed domestic calls for a more forceful military response, declaring that Russian retaliation was, quote-unquote, inevitable. Quote, our army is on an active offensive and will continue its push forward. Everything that needs to be blown up will be, and those who need to be eliminated will be, end quote. He wrote. Medvedev, who currently serves as deputy chair of Russia's Security Council, said the Istanbul negotiations were necessary, quote, for our victory to be most swift and the full elimination of the neo-Nazi authorities in Kiev. And I'm going to descend now, but interesting, yeah.